agenda to destroy our worlds.
I watched Oppenheimer not too long ago, compelling me to create this video to share with you all the emotions that I experienced observing Oppenheimer's tragic tale. Oppenheimer was eccentric, sometimes arrogant, and at all times a genius. His intense curiosity for particle physics, coupled with his large presence, charmed his colleagues. We were all completely under his spell, said physicist Philip Morrison, who would follow him to Los Alamos. He was enormously impressive, and there was no one like him, Isidore Rabi remembered. It was his insatiable curiosity that won him his positions as professor at UC Berkeley and Caltech. Oppenheimer became credited with becoming a founding father of the American School of Theoretical Physics. So why did such a passionate and successful man decide to throw his old life away to create a weapon capable of destroying all mankind? From my understanding, and please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, there are a few reasons. Firstly, he was Jewish, unquote.
And I know what it means if the Nazis have a bomb.
In other words, he believed it was necessary that the Allies develop the atomic bomb first to prevent further suffering of his people and others under Nazi control. 2. He believed the bomb was necessary to end the war in Japan. This is a controversial take. I personally believe that the atomic bombings were unnecessary. I would call upon the fact that, of the 8 admirals and generals in charge at the time, one of them being General Dwight Eisenhower, 7 of them concluded that the atomic bombing of Japan was unnecessary. Furthermore, Henry Stimson, Secretary of War during the time, wrote in his journal that it is possible, in the light of the final surrender, that a clearer and earlier exposition of American willingness to retain the emperor would have produced an earlier ending to the war. There's an excellent GTF video I'll link below that explores all the evidence against the nuclear bombing that I'd highly recommend you guys watch. Oppenheimer naively thought that the creation of atomic weapons would lead to a, quote, peace that mankind has never seen. He believed that once people saw the immense destructive capabilities of nuclear weapons, they would cooperate to maintain peace through mutually assured destruction doctrine, or MAD. The fact that Oppenheimer was misled to believe the murder of up to 300,000 Japanese civilians was necessary, when in reality, it was a power play conducted by Truman, is a real tragedy, to say the least. Thirdly, he was somewhat egotistically driven and simply curious. When Groves interviews Oppenheimer for the director position at Los Alamos, Groves questions Oppenheimer, saying, "Why don't you have a Nobel Prize?" To which Oppenheimer replies, "They may give me one for this," speaking of the Manhattan Project. You have to remember that this man was a scientist whose intellect far surpasses yours or mine. Such a mind thrives off of constant, potent stimulation, such as the pursuit of a complex abstract theory, or the building of a bomb of unprecedented scale. Perhaps his mind was preoccupied with whether they could build an atomic bomb, without considering whether they should. The real power of the Oppenheimer film comes from its ability to effectively visualize the storm raging inside Oppenheimer's mind after the bombing. There are many such instances of Nolan's masterful and haunting visualizations, like the ending scene, where we get to see the end of the world through the eyes of Oppenheimer. I think the most satisfying part of this film was really being able to empathize with Oppenheimer. I was ecstatic when he saw his theories come to life. I was able to relate to his duty-bound ideologies and understand his terror of the Nazi treatment of Jews. I suffered his pain of seeing his invention, his child, bring hell on earth to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I cheered on his hopeful speeches of eternal peace, but was terrified seeing the nuclear arms race evolve in front of me, powerless to stop the grinding gears of mankind's perpetual wars. Oppenheimer was not a perfect man. He cheated on his wife several times. He was one of the wisest men of his time, yet utterly blind to the obvious truth before him, that his weapon would lead to destruction, not peace. He was always adamant that the bombings were necessary. Perhaps he was unable to face his own guilt, or perhaps he simply truly believed in its necessity. But not many people can say they've been in a situation like Oppenheimer's. To experience the kind of mind he had, and to be in a stressful environment, it takes a certain kind of person. The nuclear bomb has utterly reshaped much of modern geopolitics. It's no wonder that Nolan called him the most influential man of the last century. I think his story deserves recognition, and I'm grateful for Nolan for so skillfully telling it. I don't want this video to be some didactic statement vilifying or exonerating Oppenheimer. I simply wanted to convey to you, the viewer, the beauty of Nolan's film, and to give a bit more of a background to truly understand his terrible moral dilemma. I hope I have accomplished this in this video. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
I believe we had a great cause to do this, but I do not think that our consciences should be entirely easy at stepping out of the part of studying nature, learning the truth about it, to change the course of human history. Long ago, I said once that in a crude sense, which no vulgarity and no humor could quite erase, the physicists had known sin. And I didn't mean by that the deaths that were caused as the result of our work. I meant that we had known the sin of pride. We had turned to effect, in what proved to be a major way, the course of man's history. We had the pride of thinking we knew what was good for man. And I do think it has left a mark on many of those who were responsibly engaged. This is not the natural business of a scientist.
You know, in the first days after